Fast. I was like, well, it is what it is. Oh, yeah. Well, we have excuse the absences. All right, let's call this meeting to order. So, this is the November 18th, 2019 Homer Township Board of Trustees, 7 p.m. We begin, as we always do, with our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, Trustee Kruczek, he's not well, will not be in attendance, and Trustee Alford has a scheduling conflict, which he was known about, and so we'll go to the absences. Our Assessor Karen is at Operation Care. They're trying to do a push for loading packages for the Christmas season, and they needed all hands on deck. At this time, do we have any speakers from the public?
We got roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will the clerk call the roll?
Supervisor Myers.
Present.
Trustee Kalis.
Present.
Trustee Kruczek.
Present.
We have quorum. Mr. Fleming has signed up to speak.
Yeah, I know. I was reading in the paper about the meetings are now going to be audio recorded. I think last month's meeting was audio recorded, and this month's meeting is going to be audio recorded. Are these going to be approved? And if they are going to be approved, will they be on your website? How will the public be able to access?
Yes, as was stated in the last couple agendas, when the minutes are approved, then the audios are posted with the minutes on the website.
So will they be next to the minutes on the website, or some sort of?
It follows in line. Okay. It's going to just be, you'll see a line for it that you just click on it.
Okay, so just a click.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first meeting that you're approving then, right?
That is correct.
First audio meeting you're approving.
That is correct.
It's the first with minutes that will have an audio version attached. Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. We have Mike LaPresti.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I have a couple questions, and I'm sure you've heard about the gas station on the Pooh Farm. Have you heard about that?
We have heard that village, there was before the Village Planning Commission.
Yeah. So I raised a couple questions and brought something to their attention. It has to do with you, Mike. The load rating on the street, and they want to put an entrance on Gallagher Road for the semis to go into the gas station. Now, I looked up the statute, and the guy in control of that is you, sir.
No, I'm not.
It's the township.
Not anymore, because when they annex the property, they annex the road.
If you look at the statute, they annex the road.
When the state statute says when you annex up to a road right-of-way, you assume responsibility all the way to the far end of that right-of-way. That's what the state statute said. Had I known you come here, I would have brought a copy. It's very common, and they did that to eliminate, you own this half of the road and we own that half of the road. That's why that was put in, because there was a lot of confusion, you know, an accident on a shared right-of-way. There's no more shared right-of-ways. Once a municipality annexes a property to a road right-of-way, they assume responsibility for all of that road right-of-way.
For all of Gallagher Road?
Up to along the gas station, that's all that those trucks will be using.
just wherever the property lines begin and end to the other side of the road.
So they can change the
They
ring
can do
and,
anything they want, it's on their road.
now who's gonna maintain it then?
I will maintain it,
Through an intergovernmental agreement. We maintain-
but I'm just the maintenance man.
No, I understand. But the way that I read that statute was that, the statute that was stated to me by IDOT is that you still go to the intersection because it's the entire road. It's not just that little section. They want to change, just so you know, they want to change that load rating to unlimited for 400 feet,
700 feet.
700 feet. So they want to change, they want to put the load sign, the load limit, at the end of the driveway.
I've had, may I?
Listen, it's learning for me. Whatever
Okay,
you
no.
got.
I've had many meetings with the village, and this is an item we discussed at the Public Safety Committee at great length. And my position is that a lot of people, their position is punishment. We need to bring the scales out, we need to write higher tickets, we need, all of what they want to do is punishment. And, you know, I'm totally against that philosophy. I think that philosophy does us as a community no good. The real problem with these warehouses is although they're local distribution, they're nationally attached. If you have a situation where you have traffic on the street that travels every day, it's the same bunch of people, morning commutes. When you start writing those people tickets, you usually get most of the speeders. They're going to be there tomorrow, they'll slow down. That's a repeat traffic, and their enforcement works a lot. But if you have a situation where most of these trucks will come here and the driver will never come here again because tomorrow he's in Arizona, next week he's up in Canada, you know, he could be in New York. And his chances of coming here are slim to none. I mean, it happens, but it's slim to none. Most of those guys that come here on a regular basis know the routes and stay off the streets. The problem with the people going off route are those people that just use a GPS, and they're never been here before and they'll never come back. So enforcement doesn't work. So then you're left with, you have to educate them before they get here. There's a number of ways of doing that. And I've talked this over with the committee. It's going to take a concerted effort between the communities involved, both Lockport and the Village of Homer Glen, and of course myself. One of the things you can do is you insist that all the people who take deliveries have appointment deliveries. Appointment deliveries are extremely common in transportation. I was in the field for a long time. And it isn't uncommon to get a bill of lading that says you must call for appointment. So when you force the driver or the dispatcher to call for appointment, who's ever giving the appointment can also say, here's the way you gotta get in here. So what I'm doing is, I know it's a bit far-fetched, you have to pre-educate the drivers. And you can make that happen, that's not the end of the world. Another way to do it is on the way in, you've got to capture these drivers before they come in. You know, directions to Gauger Warehousing, tune in 5:60 a.m. and have a loop for these addresses you exit here, for these addresses you exit here. When you get these people who come into the gas station, and that's one good thing about that gas station, because now what happens if the driver turns, he's going to have to turn around. And they've been actually busting up the road for us, and we've had to go out there and fix it. You can ask Kathy to do this. But once you get them in there, you have them captured, and you can have directions. On my plan, I'm talking to a sign maker. They have a 10-foot by 10-foot, much like a sign you'd see on the tollway. They are that big. With here you are, to get here, you have to go this way, and to get here, you have to go this way. So you can see I've looked at every possible scenario I can to do this. I'm on your side, it's just going to take an effort.
Yeah, and again, I wasn't bringing up, I know that there's only so much you can do with the trucks that are going down the street. That wasn't part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, and I asked them if they had annexed that, and they don't even know. I mean, no one even brought it up to say, Mike, you don't have an argument here. We annex both sides of the street. It is what it is, all right?
Yeah,
So I'm going, and I apologize, because I'm coming here with the wrong assumption
No.
that was still the township road and that it went to the corner. So that, like I say, I called IDOT, and I have the gentleman's name and everything, and he explained it to me, and that was the assumption I was going on. So if they have that 700 feet or whatever that length is, and then they've annexed both sides of that street,
yes.
it is what it is. I don't have much of a case to make. So that's,
But
I'm
it doesn't mean
glad I
we're not
came.
gonna try
No,
to resolve the issue.
no, I got you,
Yeah.
but now I understand it, so I don't have to be Don Quixote anymore, I just go home and take my licks. But thank you very much for that, I
No
appreciate
problem.
it, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole, did you want to hold until it comes to committee time?
Yeah.
Nicole, this is Nicole LaHa's Weirkin.
Yes.
And
Good practice, right?
I just want to make sure I got
Yeah.
it right. She is with our Senior and Special Needs Committee, and she is going to report on one of the items on the agenda in lieu of George not being here. So, if you don't mind, okay. And then Roy,
I just want to take a quick couple of minutes and just kind of update everybody again where we're at with this, since you guys are so graciously sponsoring us for this block grant, where we're at on this. I'm going to be here, try to come by every month and give you guys updates, because I know you guys won't be coming out in the field because it's getting cold. So I'll come here.
I do. I do.
I know you do. You'll be there on Friday.
I will.
But material's been hauled in last Friday. They're coming in with equipment. This project, it came in with under where we're at for a bid price. Came in at $1.28 million for the record for everybody. We're going to be using this HDB pipe going in for service lines. And I think it's going to be a great project. With engineering fees and legal fees, the whole project came in at around $1.5 million. And I think that's a great project that you guys are sponsoring with CDBG grants, our money, coming back to the community. Everybody keeps saying that nothing is being done. Again, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again every meeting. I'm going to be here complimenting you guys on that for the work that's being done.
Thank you, and the district is to be commended as well, because there are a lot of expenditures that you all have put away reserves for that
Saved
are
up for it,
not
right.
included in the CDBG grant. So let's just hope, the weather helps out for us and we can have a smooth project.
They're going to dig all winter. We got water main that can go in all winter. While the water main's going in, we've already worked with the city on some service lines that was leaking, that they put, they withhold the 10-day notices on the homeowners. Instead of telling them you gotta fix it now, we told them, look, we're getting new service lines. Don't tell them that you gotta fix it now. So they're gonna be putting in service lines as we're putting in, because we have areas that can be service lines that have water main already. We're gonna be doing those at the same time. He's gonna be doing both projects at the same time, so kind of moving along on that as well, so that'll be a good thing. And one suggestion, I don't know, is it Tom? Is on the open space?
Yes.
I'm gonna try to make that Wednesday,
Okay.
and I was digging back through some things, and I'm gonna stay positive, because I'm gonna be a positive guy. It's a new leaf, believe it or not. If I don't make it, maybe one of you guys, whoever else is here, can get that to him, is maybe we don't need to call it in the event center.
Right.
I looked back through, when I did a FOIA, it used to be called, when they did the last one, it was a community center. When everybody was on, well, there was one that wasn't, but he was, and that was Trustee Fish. But everybody else that was on there, including some people who were against it now, was all for it when it was a community center and an activity center.
Yeah.
So I think we ought to, if I'm gonna try to make it Wednesday, and if I have to, can anybody volunteer to be on that committee too, or help out?
Yeah, you can.
You can help out on that committee?
Yeah, and the meetings are open to the public.
They're open to the public? I know they're open to the public, but I mean, will they take volunteers to be on that
Talk
committee?
to the chairman, sure, but Sure, we don't get a lot of
Don't-
offers, so you're kind of throwing me
I'm
off.
throwing you for a loop if I want to volunteer for the
Come on
committee
in.
instead of just coming in here and
Sure,
I can actually come and volunteer.
sure. You
Put up, as they say.
Absolutely, talk
Okay.
to the chairman and.
I'll try to be there Wednesday then, because I think that'd be a different direction of going then, because it ran with no opposition,
Yeah.
so I think that's a new way of looking at it. So,
I think, you know. it's
even if
just
it was
loosely
only an idea right now.
Yeah.
So we all gotta remember, it was only an
Right.
idea, but
I think it's loosely been called an event center, just
yeah,
by
I
it's
think so.
gotten that
We'll
way,
loosely
but
call it a
because
community
the
center.
events would be there, it's been called a multi-purpose building, it's
There
been
you
called
go,
a
we'll
pole
rename
barn.
it.
Which is what it is, and, you know, so it's, you're right.
Right.
We
It's
just need to get facts and see whether it's feasible.
Right, exactly, but it's an idea, but if it's open to the public to get on there
Yeah.
and help out,
Come on.
I think I'm gonna have to get on there and help out. and-
Sometimes we do actually get some people that come and at least observe, but, you know, the more the merrier.
I can come there and help.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you.
We can find work for people
Oh,
to
you can-
volunteer.
I'm
We're
sure you'll
really
find something
good-
for me to do.
Really good at
You'll
that.
put me in a corner.
No. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Let's move on. So, we will,
May I ask
Yes.
one question, and I know this is not normal, but, Mike, this gentleman here has informed me that Lockport has the three corners there, and Homer only butts the one.
Correct.
Who has the street then? If Lockport annexed that lady's house,
Whose house? Kathy Boo?
no,
Northeast
to the
corner.
west.
Northwest.
so we're talking 159th in Gallagher, just to be clear, correct?
I'm not quite sure who annexed it first. You'd have to see annexation papers in that.
All right.
So that you're saying, you think Lockport may have annexed 159, the corner on the
The western
the
side of
northwestern
Gallagher?
corner on it first? You'd have to see when the documents are signed and filed and stuff like that.
Are you saying, so the Boo property is on the northeast corner of 159th and Gallagher? You're saying that the city of Lockport has annexed the parcel on the northwest
Correct.
first?
I believe it was, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
It'd be very interesting to find out who actually owns that hunk of road.
absolutely it would, and it is information you should easily be able to get from the city of Lockport if they have annexed. There's an annexation agreement,
Okay.
a document, which is foiable at the least, you know, but it might just be
All right, if I
public
find out
record.
anything cool, I'll come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back into our accounting. Thank you both for coming out. Our October 2019 accounts receivable and payable have been presented to the board.
I'll make a motion to approve per discussion.
We have a motion by Kruczek and a second by Kalis. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying, no,
that's voice
sorry. I need roll call. I'm trying to write and,
Supervisor Myers,
yes.
Trustee Kruczek,
Yes.
Trustee Kruczek.
Yes.
All yes, motion carries.
Motion carries. We have a line item transfer in our budget appropriations. We're looking for a reassignment of appropriated line items within the Homer Township Road District budget, the Road and Bridge Fund, and we're expecting to transfer from the unexpended balance of line item number 880, contingencies, the total sum of $30,000. That amount to be added to line item 820, engineering service, in the same fund in the amount of $30,000. Do I hear a motion for such a line item?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Trustee Kruczek,
Yes.
Trustee Kalish,
Yes.
Supervisor Myers,
Yes.
all yes, motion carries.
We do not have a request for funding contributions this month. This will bring us to the Highway Commissioner's report.
Thank you. In front of you is my ordinance HDRD 111819, my tax levy for the year 2019, collectible for 2020. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope, and I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruczek, second by Kalis. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Trustee Kalish?
Yes.
Trustee Kruczek?
Yes.
Supervisor Myers?
Yes.
All yes, motion carries.
My report? Other than 150 High Street, just might be open this year.
Okay.
Sooner or later, it had to happen. As I mentioned earlier, our assessor is not able to be here this evening. She's working with Operation Care Package. She did want to mention to you that everything in her office is going very well. They are still accepting exemptions for 2019 for the senior homestead exemption, senior citizens freeze exemption, the disabled veterans exemption, disabled persons exemption. And she also recommends that if anybody needs any further information, call her office at 708-301-8166. And then our clerk, Kathy Kruczek.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the October 7th regular board meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the October 7th regular board meeting minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
I also have up for review executive minutes already approved. We're looking to release or restrict.
I'll make a motion to not release.
We have a motion and a second to not release the executive session minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Hearing none, motion carries.
Enclosed is your FOIA tracker report as well. We also need a motion to adopt the 2020 proposed meeting schedule dates for the town board. I would like to note that there was a typo error for the annual meeting, and it should read 7 p.m. instead of 6. It will be corrected. Also, I wanted to inform you that there are some variances in a few dates due to holidays and fiscal and financial obligations. I need a motion to approve those dates for the 2020 year.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. You want to get mine?
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Also, I'm requesting that the committee chairs submit their 2020 meeting schedules to me by December 9th so that a list can be compiled and a notice posted as required by law.
Thank you, Kathy. Go on to the supervisor's report. Pleased to announce that we've completed our levy. I am proposing that the levy request should once again result in a decrease in the Homer Township tax rate for taxes collected in 2020. Homer Township has steadily decreased its annual tax rate each year. From 2013, it was 0.1779, and currently we're at 0.0948. These calculations are based upon the estimated equalized assessed valuation of all the township properties, the projected annual property tax exemptions, the expected new growth, compliance with PTAL, and the max cap rates. I estimate that the increase in the levy request will yield approximately $25,000, and that can be extended by capturing a little bit of the new growth and still reducing the tax rate. I am recommending that the additional revenue be applied to the park maintenance fund for anticipated future capital projects. I've calculated the tax rate for 2019 to be in the range of between 0.0904 to 0.0913 if the early estimated EAV exemptions and new growth figures from Will County are accurate. At this time, I would request a motion to adopt the tax levy ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Supervisor Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Kalish?
Yes.
Trustee Kruczek?
Yes.
All yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Concerning the property tax abatement for Farmers Crossing Senior Housing Bond. I have reviewed the finances from the senior housing facility and have determined that the township has funds lawfully available to pay the principal of and interest on the township's $2,365,000 general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2012A, which was dated June 14, 2012, in a sum equal to the annual levy of certain ad valorem property taxes pledged to the payment of the bonds due in 2020. I am therefore recommending the abatement of the taxes for the bond, and I will present the abatement ordinance at the December board meeting if there are no objections. Okay. And I do want to take this time to give kudos to the Homer Township Board. They've been practicing good government and fiscal stewardship. This has resulted in lowering of the tax rate, as I said, for the 5th consecutive year, and also abating any taxes for the senior housing debt service. There's been a teamwork between the township staff, the residents, management, and the board that enabled the successful outcome while continuing to still increase services, make necessary capital improvements, and maintain reserves for future projects. And I just would like to make a formal congratulations to all for doing this. As far as our administration, the Pace Para Transit Fixed Route and the Dial Ride Agreement, the board has received a $1,506.36 Title 20 grant proceeds for providing free ride programs for the elderly handicapped participants for the period of July 2018 through June 2019. The Dial Ride proposed renewal agreement and ridership report has been presented to the board as well, depicting the ridership from January to August of 2019. At this time, I would request a motion directing the supervisor to renew and execute the 2020 Pace Dial Ride local share annual agreement. Do I hear such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Trustee Kalis. Do I hear a second? I will second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Trustee Kalis?
Yes.
Trustee Kruczek?
Yes.
Supervisor Myers?
Yes, motion carries. Regarding the CDBG program, the Township, Lockport Heights Sanitary District, and Will County, AECom had assessed and tabulated the submitted bids to assure all standards and requirements were met. As Mr. Adcock reported earlier, the bids were awarded, and they were awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, which was Conley Excavating. And on behalf of the Township, its supervisor has accepted the lowest responsible bid and executed the contract. Pre-construction meeting took place on site on October 15th. The board has been provided the agenda and minutes from that meeting, and the contractor has begun staging the materials on site. On the annual Township Employee Medical Insurance meeting, the annual insurance meeting resulted in consensus from all department managers to continue with Blue Cross Blue Shield as the carrier based on market study comparisons. The Blue Cross Blue Shield comparable renewal plan will result in a reduction of cost to the township by 0.97%. However, the renewal coverage will also result in increased employee PPO outlays of the individual deductible and the out-of-pocket caps. All other coverage will remain the same. There were various options presented to retain or expand the current coverage for the employees, and they were explored, but unfortunately, there was a wide gap between the next available plan options, and they proved to be cost prohibitive for the township. So this is the best we could do at this point. The follow-up report on the refuse disposal contract for the unincorporated territory. The board had directed that the township supervisor and or legal counsel did some research. I did contact Lockport Township, which was referred to in the earlier suggestions from the residents. and discuss their experiences and processes. And they did indicate it was quite a learning experience, and that they were advised that the question would require a referendum vote of the unincorporated citizens of the township. If approved, the township would need to develop a scope of work, policies, contracts, etc., and put the request out for formal bidding. Until the bid documents are awarded, there is uncertainty in the associated costs of developing and administering the program, and as to whether or not it would result in any plausible cost savings after all those costs were factored in long term. It was also pointed out that there are some ambiguities as to, I'm feeling tongue-tied today, as to whether the township may legally enforce compliance of all residents participating in the selected service. And this would most likely be a requirement of the carriers in order to negotiate economies of scales or reduced rates. That is my report. And again, without a referendum, Jerry, I assume you agree with the referendum?
Yeah, there's, a referendum is necessary. A simple majority has to approve of it. It can be done and has to be included in the referendum statement one of two ways. One, you can create a special taxing district in which the township actually taxes people of the township, unincorporated township, and then pays the disposal service. Or, alternatively, you can provide within the guidelines that the disposal service bill customers directly. That has to be indicated in the referendum which way you're going on that.
So, that is the information. I don't know if the board is looking for any future action at this point, or let it sink in, or do more research, or how would you like to proceed?
What you need, obviously you need more information, obviously, I would imagine, correct? For this?
I think it is kind of a touchy situation with it being, here, we're going to tell the residents you have to do this, but then we're going to bill you, or they're going to bill you, when it should just be their choice. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the referendum would be their choice.
Yeah.
The referendum would be a choice of the
But
majority, but it always has this, Orland
way.
Park has instituted that program. And when they did that, rates actually went up.
That's the scary part.
Because, then you get into this dynamic of people coming to the township to bid and to offer their services. And that becomes a whole another dynamic that is involved. And there is a question, if you bill customers directly, if that's what the referendum is, there's an issue as to whether or not you can absolutely require that. Orland Park does, but then the municipality has different powers than we do. And that question is probably one that's unsettled.
Well, that's the same thing with Homer Glen, right? With the trash service in Homer Glen, not even just Orland.
Yeah, they do require it. The village of Homer Glen does require
Requires what?
full participation in the new way contract
Disposal.
that they have.
They have a disposal program.
But again, they are home rule, and I think what was portrayed to me was that it hasn't really been litigated. So,
Right.
that when you say there's uncertainties, if somebody hasn't sued them yet, you don't know if they're really enforceable or not. So, I think that was the issue.
How was this even brought up again?
I had received actually some in writing and a couple phone calls from residents wanting.
From disposal company?
No, actually, they were real residents,
Oh.
from residents, some living over off of Codo Drive, and a couple of that just felt that the city of, or the Lockport Township was saving such a large amount of money.
Oh, yeah,
that perhaps-
because of Lockport Township had.
Right, it was based on the fact that, Lockport Township did it, why can't we do it and save, some roadways with garbage trucks? Because that always seems to be the one thing that they say is instead of having, 3 or 4 different companies going up and down the roadways,
Right.
but also the chance to save money through economies of scale. Again, like Jerry said, it depends on how it's done.
Do we know how Lockport's structured their
Well,
corporate
I
area?
do, and I basically, they are, did you, I'm gonna, from what I understand, they are having the company pay, they're paying directly to the
Oh.
company. However, what the company is doing is when somebody isn't paying, they're contacting the city of Lockport to notify them that they're not paying. And that is somewhat problematic. Not to mention the fact that, yes, there is expenditures, as we know, going out to bid and, getting all this stuff prepared and preparing policies, and staff now involved with making sure that these bills are all being paid. But the other aspect of this as well is, are they factoring in that cost into the cost of providing the service? And at this point, they're not, because of course it's new and they really don't know exactly how much everything is going to cost. From what I understand, it was a very big learning curve, and also from what I understand, the city or the Lockport Township, pardon me, this came out of an annual town meeting, a passage at an annual town meeting to make it a referendum item.
Gotcha.
So that's what I was told, was that it was approved at an annual town meeting for the township to do this and put it on a referenda, which they did, and it passed.
Sounds like we got a topic for next year's annual town meeting.
Well, or the public can do that.
Can I put some info on this here, because as a Homer Township unincorporated, our whole subdivision, which is unincorporated Homer Township, we do get garbage through the city of it goes directly on our water bill. Okay, which is pretty much our subdivision incorporates what unincorporated encompasses majority of Homer Township.
So,
I don't know that you're the majority of the unincorporated.
But we have a lot of area, our residents wise.
Right.
We take in a
But
lot.
those areas would not be included in the negotiations.
Well, we-
Whatever is already, within the
But if
city.
it went on a referendum though, as unincorporated, now we would have to be forced into something that.
I'm not sure how that would work.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, I'm just putting it out there though, that it would be a referendum.
Supervisor, you're the largest subdivision in the unincorporated area by far, and your garbage is already paid for and taken care of. So you wouldn't benefit from this at all, would you?
Right, no, that's why I wouldn't want to see it on a
Largest portion of
referendum.
the town, but actually, we probably have to be left out, because it's already taken care of.
It's quite possible.
Or you'd be double charged, like
Correct.
everything else. Well, I mean, there's certain areas that.
There are.
Yeah, they pay both. They're gonna pay a garbage fee to Lockport.
The other side of Smith's Road in our subdivision, Lockport Township is being double charged right now.
Okay, well.
Just that thrown out, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but.
No, I know, I just hate to, once we start,
sorry.
allowing free
Pardon me.
speech through the meetings and stuff, then, we have a 5-page agenda, that's all. Grant, since I allowed Mr. Aycock, and you did raise your hand.
I'm in that collection area in Lockport Township, and it did reduce my garbage bill significantly. In fact, I wrote the petition to put it on there. But the idea is also to include an opt-out provision for communities that have an HOA that have already contracted for garbage services. And there's one on the other side of Weber, and the name escapes me, that they actually had a rate that was better than we got from Homeward. So they opted out. But a single residence can opt out if they already have a garbage service or it's a business that has a commercial garbage service.
Can you tell me if the contract that Lockwood Township has is only a year, or how long it is?
I believe it is a year, but I'm not certain. I didn't see the final
Yeah.
version.
What I had heard was that you may, it's feasible that you would get a savings the first year until people started opting out and doing stuff.
There is a graduated increase in it, so it must be more than 1 year. In fact, I think it is 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I thought Homer was 5 even, I mean, that could be wrong, but I thought.
I don't know. All I know is that, you know, what I was told is that there is no guarantees long-term because of factors, just like all the factors we discussed today, that, you know, could be less people than originally thought. You know, the first year is one thing, and then going down the
You know,
road.
obviously, it does make everything easier and cleaner, and there's, like you say, one service that's picking up everything. That part of it is a benefit, but.
Right. Well, and I will just say that I did get a phone call from the one gentleman who had inquired and had just told him what I had learned so far, and he really did not realize that it would require a referendum, because I had said, you know, it is something that, you know, can come from the public, you know, to go to referenda, you know, either through petition or annual meetings and whatever, and he didn't seem as interested after that point. But again, you know, I did bring it to you all, you did want us to research it, and that is what we found.
Gotcha.
Okay, then let's move on to our property management, our senior housing. At this time, all of our rents are current and all of our units are occupied, which is good news. The FH Passion has begun the window replacement repairs that you approved last month, and we anticipate them to be done this week. Morris Park storage sheds, all of the work is completed. You've been provided pictures. The 2 sheds have been installed and they look very good. Everything has been inspected to the best of our ability. Seems very good. Good work. And next spring, as weather allows, we're hoping to work with the club to get their items transferred to the new storage shed and to start working towards restoring the original concession building. Center and Culver parking lots, that is pending, you know, due to the weather changes. The seal coating that you approved was not able to be completed. Unlikely that it will get completed until spring. And the town center park and sports fields, again, the football announcers tower at the October 7th meeting, the board directed moving forward, getting a proposal from Passion and the job order contracting program. The supervisor conferred with representatives from the job order contracting, Passion, and the structural engineer to move forward with the proposal. With the sudden changes in weather conditions and temperatures, it was discussed that the temperatures should be at a 40-degree and rising condition in order to complete the work with the associated materials required. In light of the sudden onset of winter, unless weather conditions improve long-term, the work will be planned for spring. In the interim, the supervisor will work with Jack and WJE to schedule a meeting to facilitate both entities in developing the scope of work and details necessary for the repair project.
Supervisor Myers, may I ask a question, please,
Yes.
about that? I know what the motion stated at last meeting. Why is WJE involved in this? 'Cause I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know the motion was just to get the scope of work from Passion. Won't adding WJE jack up the price on this? Because obviously they're not going to oversee something for nothing.
Well, first of all, you did not specify in your motion to just get the scope of work from Passion.
Yes,
And the report, the item that was on the report was that the findings from the testing from WJE, which we did pay for, a
Yes,
structural
I know that.
engineer, that was what was reported on last month.
Right, but the motion stated to go from the email from April 24th to contact Passion to get a scope of work and a proposal on what they had sent in April 24th of this year.
Well,
I'm just kind of curious on all of a sudden, I know we paid money to WJE, that's correct, okay? I just don't understand why they have to oversee.
well, nobody has said that they have to oversee anything. You're jumping to conclusions.
Well, because what I'm just saying is, you know, they're going to work together.
Well, there is no, as you were reported to, I did give you an extensive, we had a phone conversation
Yeah.
and also an email. There is no scope of work developed by WJE or by Passion, and
Well,
that
so-
needs to be done.
Okay,
But,
so-
well, let me finish, Ed. I've let you finish now let me finish. So I did talk to you about this, and I also talked to the other trustees, and none of which did any of the other 3 trustees feel that your motion was to eliminate working with the structural engineer that we hired to prepare the scope of work.
My motion, and quite honestly, if this board voted on an unclear motion, I don't know why they did it.
No, I think they thought the motion was very clear.
The motion that I made, and I'm sure Trustee Kruczek said, is just to get a scope of work and a proposal from Passion, according to what they said needed to be done from the April 24th emails.
That is not what any of them have told me, it's not what your motion said.
Okay.
And the April 24th email had nothing to do with them preparing a scope of work either.
They had.
I went back and pulled all that and talked to
I
them on the
wish I
phone
would've
about
known. They
this.
had said that, they'll rip out the windows, put in new sills, put in a moisture barrier and replace the stuff.
The April
the siding.
24th email said that there was a lot more work than simply replacing the windows. That's
They
what,
said to replace the sill,
No,
they
they-
take the siding off and put a moisture barrier.
I came back to the board after the April 24th email to explain, because the board had originally sent me to Passion asking only for a window replacement.
Yeah.
So
And they came
what
back
you're
with some other
saying
stuff.
makes no sense, because it didn't
Okay,
say
then I
anything
guess that'll
about.
make no sense, so Supervisor Myers.
I'm just saying,
Move on. I'm done.
I did go back, I tried to speak with
okay.
you, and it was pretty similar
that's-
to
that's-
trying to speak
that's-
with you right now.
Here's the thing, and I'm just gonna say this once, and we've been kicking these windows around for a couple of years now.
Partly
For
because
real?
you tabled them indefinitely in your park committee for 2
Yes,
years.
We did not, because we.
2 years,
You know what?
indefinitely.
And I'm gonna, we did not, and that was on recommendations from you because.
No, it wasn't. I have emails showing that I
Okay,
kept bringing
yeah.
this to
Then
the
I guess we
board.
didn't have that
I
meeting
kept
here.
bringing
Okay,
this to
you
the
know what?
board saying
Yeah.
something has to be
All I
done.
know is we spent $20,000 on these windows with no structural engineer, and this is a 100-year-old building, and now.
You know what, Ed, saying
I'm
this
just
about
trying to
these
get windows in the
windows,
sports
these
tower.
windows are not leaking inside the walls like the announcers
You know
tell.
what? Okay.
These windows,
Okay.
we've had at least
Okay.
3 professionals explain to us over and over again.
All
Well,
right.
excuse me, Ed. Why don't you just let me finish what I'm saying before you keep jumping in with this?
Hmm.
It's very rude.
Well, I apologize,
Thank you.
Supervisor Myers.
Thank you. Because these windows were not leaking inside the wall. We've had at least 3 sets of professionals tell us that there are other problems that are taking its toll on the building. You yourself have been in this building and seen the interior of the walls are starting to spall and peel away from moisture leaking in between the walls. So I've tried to just get the windows replaced. I've tried to work with everybody. You know what? Sometimes to get the job done right and to save the building, it might take a little bit more time rather than just going in and finding a contractor.
I'm
These
just afraid of
contractors,
shoving this price up.
on April 24th, these contractors were not comfortable simply replacing the windows without addressing other conditions
Yes, I
that they saw.
understand. That's what
They
they said.
actually went back in there again later on when you guys did direct me to have them give us some ideas.
Okay.
Have them give us some ideas of what the total repairs would be. And they also were in agreement that a structural engineer, as well as our insurer, that a structural engineer should be consulted.
So Torma suggested that too?
Yes,
Okay.
because of the level of the thing. So we could probably slap something up there real quick and fix it, so that it doesn't solve the problem, Ed. But your board, the board has not directed me to do that. I have done everything that the board has directed me to do. It has been brought to this meeting time and time again.
Okay.
And with that, folks, that concludes the supervisor's report. Let's go on to the Township Committee reports, and I would like to ask Events Chairman Kruczek to give me his report.
how do I follow that? We can follow that with,
Candy.
obviously, we had 2 events during October. The trunk or treat was, we participated with the village. That was a massive success. It was huge. It was a great time. And we also did the Halloween party in conjunction with the library, which was a great turnout too. So both events were huge. To bring it to everybody's attention, the events committee put together the trunk or treat. We actually won best overall
That was so
design.
It was really cool, I
So,
saw it.
yeah, it was a great, and it's not contributed to me, but to my women on my
On the committee.
on the committee,
Ladies on the
on
committee.
everything. I passed out candy. Okay. Which leads me to a motion to request. We actually had a budget of $350 to go into this event, and it was based on 500 people being there, and we were actually $50 under budget until the day of, when there was over 2,000. And we had to run out and buy candy because we ran out midway through.
Well, even the village had said that you just have enough candy for 500 people.
Yeah, that's what they told us, so that's what we did, and that's what we based it off of. And unfortunately, I know Mr. Marshall was there with the same deal. So I'm asking the board for a slight increase into
I'll make that motion for
$30 extra expenditures.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Supervisor Barnes?
Yes.
Trustee Kalis?
Yes.
Trustee Kruczek?
Yes,
Motion carries.
and for now, that's technically what the events committee is doing for the rest of the year. We might do participate with the library with the Christmas party, but that's going to just be on our own if we go there. It has nothing to do with the committee itself. So, and the committee would like to wish everybody happy holidays. So Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. So,
Thank you.
and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Then let's move on to Parks and Rec Chairman Kalis.
You're not going to do, well, always going to report. I thought, oh, that's copy. I'm sorry, I take that back. We did have a meeting because we do have quorum now, and basically a full committee. We were just getting acclimated with the new member and explaining different situations and, how things work. But we did come up with that we will be doing park evaluations on the parks starting early spring. Again, like it says here in Supervisor's report, the weather's bad. It's only going to get worse before it gets better. So we'll start that project of the parks evaluations in the early spring. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Chairman Olford from the Senior and Special Needs is not able to be here. However, he did ask us to move forward, Nicole and I, with giving some information in his report. Nicole, the first item we do have, the committee is requesting authorization from the board to allow a formal letter to be produced and sent to the retail stores in the township requesting they provide a go-to shop cart for those with special needs to empower them and or their caretakers with accessible options for shopping. Again, we have Nicole Zwerkin here, and she can explain because I never heard of a go-to shop cart. So she can explain her process. She's been doing some research.
Yeah,
And
I've been doing research for the last month. The committee gave me permission to do some research on behalf of them. Just a little background, I'm a mother of a child that lives with cerebral palsy. She's 2 years old. So as you can imagine, we had to kind of readjust our life pretty quickly. And with that, you kind of run into things that you don't necessarily know are important until it's staring at you right in your face. So one of the things that's really hard for me and other families that have children that live with motor difficulties is running to the grocery store. In some of the areas in the township, if they do have special needs carts, they aren't for infants or young children. The Caroline's cart is wonderful. You may have seen it. It's a gray looking big huge seat into a car seat, which is wonderful. But it is not safe for children under 30 pounds. And you can't harness your child into that. So even if you do put your child into that car seat, you have to figure out how you're going to prop her up. You use blankets, you use towels, you use whatever you can. And at that point, it gets a little sometimes embarrassing and hard because you're just trying to run to the store. And you're trying to just create some sort of normalcy in your life. So I researched an alternative that I'd like to just show you.
Sure, please.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay. So this is the Caroline's cart, which is the bigger seat that you've probably seen.
Yes.
This is the seat that I'm trying to advocate for. As you can see, it is much more supported. It has head support and it has a harness,
Okay.
which this doesn't have, and this has no lateral support. So if you have a little child, like a 2-year-old in there, she or he will slip right out and slip right under, which has been my case. So here you are trying to hold your child while you're grocery shopping and grocery shop. So at that point, you usually just leave. Here's another picture of it for you. It's pretty much the same thing. You've seen these, yeah.
It's interesting.
It's interesting, and I obviously am not a salesperson for this company. I just have seen it, and I see how much it supports head and neck support, and makes things easier, and I realize that there's not a whole lot of people that have children that may have cerebral palsy, but there's a lot more of us than you think, and there's unfortunately more and more coming out and not being as scared to come out anymore. And I think that Homer, we chose Homer to live here and to raise our family. I grew up here, we moved away, we came back, we chose here, and I just think, Homer as a community can and is a supportive community, and I think this would really help a lot of community members, and it helps Homer look like we're inclusive, we're supportive, and that you all want us here.
Yeah.
Nicole, may I ask you, so
Sure.
these are for adults too, right? This isn't
This
just...
particular cart is just for children.
Okay,
This is up to 70 pounds.
up to 7.
Up to
Okay.
70 pounds. Now, the Caroline's cart is for young adults, it can be for elderly, it can be any, those are a little bit more versatile, but unfortunately it skips right over the infant, the kids that, you can't leave my child at home, you know what I mean? Like the little baby part, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, up to 70 pounds pretty much. Yeah, toddlers, like my mom just said. The alternative is either I lay her in the cart and then I'm,
Very good.
No place for groceries.
yeah. It's been hard, and I think that something like this would really just make things so much easier for a lot of families like mine.
So would you looking for the township to draft a letter to the retailers in the area?
Well, I think in committee, what we talked about was, and again, George, but we talked about drafting just not an accusatory or any negative or anything,
Right.
but just that this has been brought to our attention,
Right.
this would be the recommended one, and what could we do as a committee
Right.
to, assist the stores?
I guess I should say what part of my research was. And I don't want to name any specific stores because this is not about finger pointing. But some of the responses I was getting when I asked to speak to store managers were, well, we don't really have that many residents in Homer Glen like that, or we don't have a need for that, one of the responses from somewhere was, well, this is a hardware store, I don't know why we would have to have that. And
Wow.
those are hurtful responses, and I didn't tell them who I was or doesn't matter. I'm a strong, thick-skinned person, I can handle it, which is why I'm also here and volunteering. But I think there's also just kind of like an education issue as well. And so I think if we show them.
Would this be, again, let me get back to the draft of the letter. Would that be like a recommendation from the township saying, we think that this would be beneficial to our residents, to the retailers in the area?
As I had said, from what I understood, what the committee had discussed was, and they were just looking for authorization, they didn't want to put out any letters without, getting the town board's authorization first.
Understood.
But basically, kind of a reach out letter, basically explaining the need, explaining the product, and, yes or no, understanding that we have not seen any in your store, we would like to see what we can do as a committee to assist
Right.
in, you being able to provide these in your store, and just kind of start that dialogue,
Yeah.
to see.
Start the dialogue, and I mean, you then there's like something to be celebrated with maybe the first store that decides
Right.
to do this. And
Right.
like, that's kind of a really big deal, and I can assure you, from speaking to this vendor, there was not one store in
No,
Illinois
there's
yet.
not. I've been stores.
So
Do
we
you
just-
do you have a price estimate or something?
Yeah, we had a price estimate of $600 per
How
cart.
much?
$600 per cart.
It's not
For that kind?
horrendous,
Yeah.
yeah.
$600.
Yeah. So
That's
I
not a
mean,
lot of money.
we have,
I mean-
you know, the possibility of being the first in our,
A trail
Special use.
blazer in the area.
that's right, you know,
Um,
that's something kind of cool to be, you know, a part of.
After working with Lincoln Way for the last couple of years of special recreation, I've learned a lot. And like you said, there's more that meets the eye.
Yeah.
Because every year with our party in the park, well, we didn't know this was, I mean, and it's presented by the Township and Lincoln Way. And, you know, if we need to draft a letter, I'm all for it.
So you.
Yes, please. Sure.
Okay. So will we just go with the board's consensus? Because I'm not sure. Do we need a motion?
No,
No.
consensus is sufficient.
Okay. So I agree. So we have the consensus to move
Okay,
forward.
so
with
there's
the
no
drafting.
motion needed?
I guess not.
Okay, that's fine.
And then George and I have been working with a representative from PACE, and we've been looking at different options, the potential to perhaps, again, exploratory, nothing has been said for sure, the possibility to lease additional transport vehicles from PACE, or maybe develop a potential pilot program to see how it would work, and, you know, since it's not something that, again, you can just put a cost estimate on. So we do have an appointment later this month. They are coming to, some of the representatives are coming. So we'll be working on that. And that would conclude the report for George's committee.
Can I just say thank you? And
Oh, thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for coming, Nicole,
Small
and
things.
contributing.
But trust me, it's a big thing for us. So
Yeah.
thank
This
you.
doesn't seem like it's an extreme cost for a retailer.
I mean,
To
if
throw
we're
a
all like
couple,
in a
2, 3
corporation to throw
in the
a
midst of
cart,
their
yeah.
I was gonna even say, maybe if you present it to them as even having these off to the side, so you don't leave them out to anybody to take them.
Right.
If you
Right.
have a special
Right.
child, you go to the service
The
department.
service area, request
and-
one.
I need this cart.
Right,
Yeah.
because that is another problem
Yeah.
that Nicole has
Oh,
brought
yeah.
to our attention in committee, is that, you know, some of the special needs chairs, even the senior, you know, they're not being used by people that need to use them, so
Yeah.
that, you know, it's just like handicap parking spaces, where's one when you
Yeah,
need one,
because-
right? You
Yeah,
know?
I remember, I
Take it by
specifically
people
went to a
park.
store and I was like, oh, you know, do you have your cart? And they're like, oh, someone's using it. And sure enough, I did see someone using it, but it's just, you know,
Where
a
did-
woman who may not have known that was for
Right,
a child who
You're
can't,
welcome.
yeah.
well, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you again.
Again, Karen has asked me to, on behalf of the liaison report for the Military and Veteran Affairs, she did want to let you know that, again, she's working with Operation Care, and the VFW auxiliary that she's also involved with is also presenting $1,000 to Operation Care this evening, because they've been running a little short on donations. However, you know, there's servicemen and there's people that they put packages out to. So this isn't Karen, this is me. You know, please consider donating to Operation Care. If you can't do products and money, if you can even come and help pack up boxes, it's greatly appreciated. It's all volunteers. Also, she wanted to let you know that the Veterans Day event that she participated in, or that everybody participated in, at Cone House through the village of Homer Glen, was very wonderful turnout, and she feels that many veterans had indicated that they had a wonderful time. The other thing that we want to make you aware is at this time of year, we begin the Wreaths Across America for the Abraham Lincoln Cemetery in Elwood. This year, you can participate either through wreath sponsorships or donations or working at the events. The Homer Junior Women's Club is active in this, Operation Care, the Lockport VFW, or you can go directly through Wreaths Across America, and they do have a website, wreathsacrossamerica.org. The Abraham Lincoln event is going to take place on Saturday, December 14th. While the ceremony is scheduled to begin at 11, we do suggest that you arrive early. It gets filled up really fast and difficult to get in and out. And that is all that Karen asked me to report on. We'll go into new business. We have notification of a Will County public hearing scheduled for a zoning case of Formato Properties LLC. They are requesting a amendment from R1 to I1. Their goal is to merge two of the properties that they own into one I1 zoning. The property is located at 14409 South Archer Avenue in Rockport. The public hearing will be conducted tomorrow night, 6:30, November 19th, at the Will County Boardroom, 302 North Chicago Street, Joliet. We also have a public hearing for Will County scheduled for zoning case Wingren DG LLC. They are requesting a map amendment from A1 to I2. The parcel currently has an approved special use permit for landscaping and lawn maintenance business. However, the I2 zoning district would better suit the company's intended use of the property and mission, and this is off of their zoning application, the verbiage. The property is located on a vacant parcel, which is approximately 14800 South Falver Road, and the public hearing will be conducted at 6:30 p.m. on December 3rd. Again at 302 North Chicago Street in Joliet, Illinois. Also, the Village of Homer Glen and the Homer Fest Committee is requesting to work with Homer Township to improve pathways between the Town Center Park and the sports complex and the parking lots and the Village's Heritage Park. The village manager and the mayor met with me to discuss it. They have suggested that the village would pay engineering costs and asked if the township would consider paying half the cost of installations. We did discuss a couple of locations. The one location that they're projecting from the committee, which is, you've been given maps, does lead right out into the parking lot at this concession stand between the football and baseball, and we did discuss concerns about traffic flow and congestion. There was talk that this, originally the committee, I guess, was talking about asphalt and maybe like some sort of a service entrance. With that in mind, the village manager and the mayor did say that, even if the township would consider a pedestrian trail, non-vehicle or bike trail, because, sending a bike out into the, opposite direction. So that is what they're asking you to look at. Again, you were provided a map from the committee, and how does the board want us to proceed?
Are you asking if, are you just asking if, how can I put this? For the cost to pay half by the township, or we're just asking for the whole thing in general?
Well, nothing has been
Okay.
agreed to as to where it's going to be or what it's going to consist of, so I'm assuming that, maybe this is something that should go to the Park and Rec Committee to look at, the issues as far as what we just talked about, some of the congestion and, some of the particulars, and have, maybe the committee could explore it and make some recommendations, and then we won't know the cost of it until
later on.
it's
Right.
designed.
I get it. I mean, putting it to Parks and Rec, I have no problem with that. I mean, I really don't, because, I am on the committee for the village, so I think it's a good idea, and the path will interconnect. Okay, it'll be great for the fest. And again, let's just take like when baseball is out there. They have a tournament or something. Maybe they want to go play in the park over there. It's a long day. It's a long day for any tournament. You got a couple of games going on. Maybe it would be okay, for a month to take a couple of smaller kids over to the park.
Well, we do have a playground.
No, I know that, but I understand it. There's a small playground there by us, but that's new. It's going to be, it's going to be there. How can I put it? It's new, so people want to go there.
Well,
Until
it
it's
it
not
is
doing well.
open for
Yeah.
access. I think what we're talking about right now is not to whether or not there should be access, it's what kind of access, whether it should be a continuation of a regional bike trail, or
I got you.
as little as a little, footpath. And,
Well, I mean, it's up to the board. If you guys want to kick it back to Parks and Rec, I'm fine with that, or if you just want to
okay.
hash it out now, it's fine.
Well, we do have a representative from HAC. Would you like to weigh in on it?
So where do they want, is this just for the fest? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been going back and forth with the mayor, because obviously the village gives us absolutely nothing.
Right.
So I was always told that it is village property, this is township property.
Right.
So I don't see any advantage for the sports group. I can't speak for the Stallions.
Right.
I could just speak for
Well,
myself
and
and
you know-
HAC, but I don't see any
Maybe
advantage for the
that's
sports group.
Another thing we should do is, as this suggestion is being brought to the township, since it does affect, my big concern in our discussions, which were, probably 15 minutes at most, you can draw things on pieces of paper and maps, but until you're out there on a night, like when you guys have, 4 teams going and people coming and going from the congestion in that parking lot there, it concerns me not that people don't come back and forth, but there has been discussion with the village and with the adjacent subdivision to extend the regional bike path. And they have actually contacted the township at one time, and we did work with HAC because they were talking about extending it between the 4 baseball fields, which was physically impossible.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the start of this process, because the village knows their side and knows that, and we all say, why not extend the park so that they're accessible on both sides? But they don't necessarily know the amount of challenges we face with that parking lot and with congestion around the concession stand. And then to have a bike trail would concern me, or if vehicles were, because as you know, Ed, even during football games, when you had the block and the sign moved over, cars were pulling in there and parking, trying to get as close to the fields and stuff as they can. So, how are we going to regulate it? How are we going to make sure it's safe, for children? I mean, when my kids played baseball and, when my daughter cheerleaded, the others are, the other kids, they're running around, they're playing, they're doing their thing, they're getting their candy from the concession stand. So, we have to just be mindful that needs to be a very safe environment, and that's the area that they're talking about. So that there is an opening in the fence right now in between the southern part of the baseball fields and the northern part of the football fields. And it's my understanding that this is coming just from the FEST committee. We had given them an intergovernmental agreement last year allowing traffic to be routed through our property from the parking areas at that location and also in front of our building where there are sidewalks. And then we found out during the event that the fence was closed off. And then I had a couple hostile residents come to our counter saying that the township closed the fence off, that they were told that by somebody at the village. And, well, I'm just saying, and so why would we do that? And we said, no, we never did that. So in my discussions with the manager and the mayor, they had just said that it was such a muddy, rainy event, and our intergovernmental agreement said if they damaged property, they would have to fix it, and so they didn't want to wear down the grass. So they were recommending a formal path for that purpose. And that is the best of my knowledge at this point.
We have a meeting tomorrow night. I'll be there. I'm sure we'll talk more about that meeting, and then
Well, and
if the
we
board
don't
is
have to do
okay,
anything tonight. I mean, we can get more, if you want, like you said, get more information, and I'll put it back up on the agenda for next month if you'd like.
Well, here's my opinion on it. They're gonna have an opening in that fence and people are gonna walk through that grass regardless and they're gonna ruin it. So if we have an opportunity to maybe access from the village property to the township property, I'm kind of for it. Now, I understand that the trail comes out of the park and would go right into the parking lot, but you can also curve that trailer up to the other path that goes to the football tower, so it isn't directly into the parking lot. Yeah, it can be done. I'm just seeing in the future that they're gonna walk and walk and walk regardless, and they're gonna ruin the grass. And it's gonna look like crap. And now there's an extra time that maybe they're splitting costs or like you say, doing engineering studies. I think it's worth looking into, let's say.
Right, let's explore
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and maybe before it gets to the parking lot, you know, maybe, just like, you know, how HAC had put those little, like, brick blocks up and whatever. I mean, we have those concrete things because we can't move them, they're just so, but maybe we could even extend that a little bit further down. And I noticed on the village's trails through the ComEd easements, you know, they do put bolsters up, they do have flashing lights that say stop and stuff. You know, so I'm not saying that's the answer, but it does definitely need to be explored. And, you know, my guess is that we should ask for input from the groups that are there, other than Fest, you know, when it is really populated.
Again, I can't speak for all our board members, but to me, I don't see any benefit for our club with a trail leading into there. And especially, we are the only club that is inconvenienced by the Fest.
That's true. We
give up
appreciate
3
your
days,
cooperation,
and
trust me.
We cooperate, we never, from the village, get a thank you, anything. And we are the ones that doesn't affect the stallion soccer, we are the only ones that are inconvenienced. And we never argue about it, we do, you know.
You guys have been
I
good to
just
work
don't
with.
see what benefit, if someone can tell me what benefit, great, I'd be more than happy to.
Justin?
First of all, if it was a gravel road, the road district would build it, wouldn't cost anything.
Excuse me?
If it was a gravel path, we would fix it.
Oh, when you said gravel road, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Now I'm really getting nervous.
If it was a gravel path, the road district would do it. We would not charge anything. So there would be no cost for that. We could have handled the engineering.
Right.
But that would certainly be our contribution.
Yeah. Well, that's nice to
And
know.
number two.
That was gonna be my next question, but.
Number two, the first responders, such as the fire department, is in full support of this. Because there are times during football, although it's nowhere near what it used to be. You remember days
Oh,
long by.
absolutely.
You couldn't get in
Numbers
there.
are way down.
There are times during football when it's crowded, if there's an injury in the field, they can't get in there because of the exit traffic down that long driveway. This allows them to another path to get in, to get to the injured person. You know, and you know time is always of the essence. And number two, you would always benefit from the extra parking. Because the parking is at the very end of the path, and the village would allow whoever used the sports fields, and sometimes during the homecoming for football, they're looking for extra parking. So you'd also have the advantage of the parking right next to the fields.
That's what I'm saying, they're gonna park there regardless
Yeah.
anyways,
Yes.
and then you're gonna be walking through grass.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of the gravel path, because I think it's like it's a half a project.
Well, there's
Especially since
maintenance.
there's trails and there's asphalt coming out of Woodbine into the park on behind Field 2 there.
Right.
If it just connects with all of that, I don't see there being a problem. And like I say,
The gravel
it
is high
something
maintenance for us too,
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of grass.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
and the grass is, you know,
Yeah,
maintained fairly well there, you
It looks
know.
like it's
Oh, no,
a
that
half
goes without
project.
saying.
It's not
But
done.
where would they make the connection between?
That's what
complex
has to be
and-
engineered.
Because, I mean, we have the batting cages between.
No,
No,
we're
no, no.
talking behind
No.
Field 3.
No, no longer.
Field
There's
3
No
to
way they're
football
going
field.
between the baseball fields, no
Yeah,
way.
It's
So
on
we
the
ride
south
around-
side of the concession
Because,
stand.
I mean, don't forget that slopes
Yes, it
down.
No, I know, but then
And
it's flat, it's flat
Because
right
we
between
get all
them.
the runoff
Right.
from
No, we know.
the golf course.
Right.
Or the old golf course
Right.
park.
It would go the south side of the concession stand. You know where the path goes up to the tower? That's what I talked about, connecting it to that path instead of coming straight out into the parking lot, because that was a concern. Kids riding his bike, he rides right out in the parking lot. Where if you come up, if it goes up to the path and then comes out.
I agree that somehow, some way it has to be engineered so that it's not shooting right into the parking lot, because as you know, People are trying to come in. People, they try to park in front of the concession stand. They backing up. One's go. I mean, and everybody's waiting to get their kids in, get the other kids out, because you got sometimes back-to-back games, especially baseball. As you said, football is way, way down, and most of those people park along the entrance road, or they've already been parking in the parking spaces outside of their fence.
It would benefit the club, especially in the parking issue. It would benefit. I mean, so you're not tearing up the grass behind field 3, meaning toward more south end of it. But like I say, it's something to look into.
It needs to be engineered, and I think those concerns.
Well, they did say that the village was gonna pay for the engineering, correct?
Right, it's
So
just
they're
that
gonna
we
take care of
need
the
to
engineering.
tell them, you know, we need to be able to know. So in other words, they have to get our authority to do it, number one, on our property. But besides that, we have to find a design that we all are comfortable with, because as I said, they weren't even aware of the situation of shooting it out into the parking lot, or how congested it gets during baseball and stuff like that. So those things they were only looking at it from a fest perspective. That on fest days, moving traffic from one place to another. But as you know, I discussed with them, we have to look at it from a 365-day-a-year perspective, and being able to maintain whatever is done there, and also safely, you know. So I think it's going to take a cooperation, you know, between the two entities, with kind of a back and forth of how's it going to be designed, how are we going to address these concerns. We do have a lot of pedestrians there. And again, the village manager and the mayor led me to believe that they would be happy if it was just a pedestrian-only path, and not
For emergency vehicles.
for
service
vehicles and for, you know, bicycles and all that kind of stuff. Considering the same thing, you know, that barbecuing at the concession for stallions and all them, it would be in this area. And I think John's onto something is, maybe if it looped out, I do still think, John, if it looped up to the pass at the, towards the announcer's tower, people that are walking are still gonna not go up and out of the way. They're gonna cut through to the park. So we might be even better off to just, come up with some, bolsters, that's not the right word, but you know, when you put the tubes up, and you know, some other ways to cordon it off so that vehicles and bicycles and
Like
stuff.
they do on Heroes Trail, they got,
Yeah, I mean,
You got the
Heroes
projects.
Trail does allow bicycles, you
right,
know.
but they do have the things in there, so these cars, I know.
They do have the
keep them
flashing
around it,
light,
obviously,
and
but
you know,
do
they
have
can
the
go
posts.
around it, but
Right.
whatever it is, that's what I think needs to be done, is I think there needs to be a cooperative effort to develop a plan that everybody can feel good about. And I know even when we entered into the IGA with the fest, with the village, that was brought to HAC to also make sure that the times that you guys were doing stuff was added into the schedule, and Andrew worked with the group, and so the opportunity is there, and I think, you know, you guys need to, you know, work in that with us cooperatively as well.
So you don't want this?
Well, I don't, it's not what I
You
want.
just,
It's, you said you were going to the committee meeting,
Well, I got the meeting tomorrow night, yeah.
so I thought you were saying you would discuss it.
Yeah, I
further
will. Yeah,
at
I will
committee.
discuss it further at the meeting tomorrow.
I mean, how do you guys want to go? You want to wait
I would-
for a report next month?
Yeah, just look into it and
Okay.
see what their intentions are. I mean, to me, I think that was pretty, I don't think the village has said just for the fest, because we're gonna invest in a
Well, if you look at
trails for
their,
the fest.
well, no,
It's for
no.
the community for
Yeah.
365 days of the year.
Right, they say opening and allowing the use of the
Yeah.
other parking lot,
And
but,
actually, if they have a nice entrance to it where it says, welcome to the village park, and then on that side it says, welcome to
Right.
Homer Township Park.
but if
On the
you,
other end, it should be.
but if you look at this, this is exactly what this is. This is from Homer Fest Committee, and it specifically says now this one says paved, packed stone, fully improved permanent path connecting the parking fields and heritage park trails and parking area. This is something that the sports and everyday residents are already utilizing.
Right.
This would also help with emergency services access. Village would need to improve path connection and gateway on village side of opening. And then there's more in here too. It does talk about, and you know, our intergovernmental agreement already pretty much allowed this. The only thing I saw that was different on the map, we gave them permission to use the lower complex parking lot. This one asks also for additional area in the detention area. Now last year you couldn't have even used the detention area or my grass. So I'm not sure we want to do that.
Why can't we use it all other years?
Right.
Well, it's up to the board. I'm just saying.
Last year was the only year we didn't use it.
Yeah, it was not
Because of the
included
water.
in the IGA either. It was never asked for and it was never included. Only the paved parking areas were included in our IGA. And then there's also talk about paved Paxton, et cetera, fully improved permanent path connecting Heritage Drive to the library in the township administrative properties, which we already do have a sidewalk in front of our building and a pathway, which the mayor and the village manager didn't know. But is this what you're talking, you were talking to me about last year, Mike, about putting in a sidewalk
Yeah,
along
I'm gonna put a
151st?
sidewalk, we're gonna all get together and put a sidewalk in front of the library.
Yes.
And I would extend that through your property if you so want.
Yeah, we talked, I said, other than our you know,
It's up to you.
trees, that's the only thing, you know, we've got those.
I've already paid for the engineering for the library, and
Okay.
I would extend that in through your property. But we want to know where you would prefer the sidewalk to go. There's
Okay,
really not that much added on to the library, because their property goes right up to the edge of yours.
right,
So there's
right,
not a lot.
right, and they put in a concrete pathway from our sidewalks to that area and a sidewalk, so, in addition to what's already there, you're talking about adding sidewalks along 151st Street.
Yes. Although for the fest, if this area was open, it would not be used for the fest. You would not have people walking there. Our goal is to get the people to walk in the back, because our goal is to get the traffic. Our goal is to separate the pedestrians and the traffic. And when they walk in front of your property there, it is such a intense area with both cars and moms pushing carts.
Right, it is,
And you
It's
really
tough.
try to avoid that. And this path that you would see there would all but eliminate that would. We'd have one point, it's just, I'm telling you, it's for the safety of this community, it would mean a lot. It really
Yeah.
would. Because you know, ma'am, my crew and I, we're responsible for that.
Right.
Logistics on
Well, you know, Mike,
off
see
street.
these red lines here? This is from our intergovernmental agreement. Other than, there was access approved by this board last year. It is the village that decided to close the fence back up again. So there's no way of knowing, you know, how well or not it would have worked because it was not allowed. And I know you guys planned on it too because you put up snow fencing and did everything. I wasn't included in the decision. I just was surprised when somebody came to the counter saying, how dare you close that fence off and this and that, and you know, an employee of the village told me and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just saying. So, but I don't think anybody disagrees that I actually felt two places were good because things can bottleneck at the beginning of time, and some people, no matter how you direct them, they're going to come the other way and whatever. So we did actually have these red lines were on our IGA. I produced the map and drew the lines. John and I met with the village several times, and so that's not, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the walkway or using the property for that purpose is okay. Now we just need to look at a safe, reasonable, more substantial crossing path, yeah.
And again, you do understand, if it is gravel, and you know, we can put a C6 on, which is considered a road gravel, and if we roll that out, it's very, very hard. It's not a gravel path.
Right.
You know, it's a crushed stone that,
Like we have on our other
Yes.
trails, because we
Yeah.
only have crushed stones
Yeah.
trails.
And that's all material that
Right.
is generally in stock for us.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't
Right.
even have to worry.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern for, and I think if depending, you know, the bikes don't usually like to do that as much, although they do. I think the biggest issue, as John brought up for us, is, you know, then there's that maintenance through the grass, you know, because we're trying to cut the grass all around there. We just let that one gravel area that a certain club threw gravel somewhere, maybe it wasn't you guys, maybe it was another one, by the concession area, and we're like, oh my gosh, now we got this big mess over here, you know? So we've been trying to get the grass to grow back in there, you know, and it is difficult to maintain informal grass. Now, where our other trails are, you know, limestone, silk screening, whatever you want to call it, chips and fines, we don't have that level of grass maintenance as we do here, you know, but I mean, I think it's worth looking into and working on, you know, so.
Well, I'll participate in any way I can.
Great, thank you, Mike, appreciate it. And if there's nothing further, I think I do not have anything under old business, and I have no need to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
You have enough
Aye.
time.
Aye.
Come and see me.